the second video of my Rocket League tutorial series. This is going to be about rotations or basic rotations, and we're going to be talking about two primary rotations today that you're going to be seeing in most of RLCS, or what most teams are going to be basing their movements off of, because it keeps it very efficient and allows the best defensive opportunities with counterattacks. The starting overall positional situation we learned last video was going to be 1, 2, and 3. Our first man pressure or playing the ball, if you remember. Our second man is best case scenario, and our third man is worst case scenario. And now we'll go ahead and learn how we're going to move around these positions within each play. So let's give an example here of our first man has a ball here, and he makes a pass out to 2. If that pass succeeds, our second man now could take a shot. That shot in itself is a play on the net, right? He is making a play now, or pressuring the opponent's net, however you want to think about it. And so he is now first man in that motion. And so a big confusion that happens here now is, what do you do with the other two players? And a lot of solo queue players, or a lot of players that may not know any better, would take their first man and rotate straight out to 3 and bring this guy in as 2. But what this ends up leaving, and the reason why I say that this is not the right idea, is if our first man now takes this shot and it gets intercepted and cleared on net, this guy's too close to read that or get in front of it, and this guy has low boost and is recovering right here, unable to get back in time. And so he's going to end up being right here while the ball's right here. And then the ball's moving faster than him, because the fastest you can drive is 52, 53 miles per hour, or about, I think, 80 some kilometers per hour. But the ball could easily be shot up to 100 kilometers or 60 miles per hour. Faster than you can drive pretty easily, especially in the higher levels. And so this ends up leaving that opportunity for a straight clear to leave your net open. What you're going to end up having then, to make this change or to make this more doable, is what I call extension, or what I hinted as the other position, right? Our fourth or half position. And so this first man, as he is overall recovering, is going to be extension, or a upfield second man, to put simply, and he's on that recovery time, so we can't change that fact that he's up here. And if we have 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 during this play for this rotation, and we're going to call this a best case scenario rotation because 2 receives the ball, this is going to be 1, 2 extension, and then 2 to 1, and 3, because we have 1, 2, and 3, we have 1, 2, he's just going to stay 3. It's as simple as that. And this breaks down a little bit. We'll talk a bit more about how we can utilize this more effectively, because you're gonna be thinking to yourself, hey, our extension has low boost here. What is he gonna do to be another second man now? And there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But at the end of the day, when you make a pass to your second man, if the pass is good and it's a direct pass to him, did your second man need more than 20, 30 boost to take a shot? Did he need more than that to get a catch or take a shot or to get control? Not really. In the same way, if he makes a pass back to you and it's direct and it's a good pass, do you need more than 10, 12, 30 boost to get that? It's a pad or 2 on the way through. You shouldn't need much more than a couple of pads to really make a shot a second man. But it's the counterattack that we worry about, which is what we're going to talk about next. So then, go ahead and just move this rotation back over here for the sake of it. Best case scenario rotation, 1, 2 extension, 2 to 1, and this could be extension to 1 in the same way. There's a lot of different ways that can go. 3 stays 3. The identify basically is the same role. So then now, let's say, instead of that happening, let's say the play fails, right? So the play here, our first man makes an attempt at getting a shot or a solo play or something, and it gets intercepted, and then our third man now is receiving the ball, right? It's coming back to him. So he pushes up and he becomes our first man. Pretty simple, right? If our guy receiving the ball becomes first man. And in the same way, if we draw worst case scenario rotation, right, we have to remember that our first man here made an attempt, so he's going to fall into extension. He's going to be our new extension. He's in our recovery time again. So he's our extension. Our third man is becoming our 1. And if we have 1, 3, and 2, or 1, 2, and 3, and we have 1, 2, what we need left then is a 3. And there are plays where you could utilize this guy upfield still, but we're going to talk about that in a future video, where you'll see teams like Space Station really use stuff like that, and other pro teams. But there's a high risk, high reward factor there that we need to talk about in its own section. And so today we're basically focusing on the base rotation, how to make your play safe, but also leave room for that counterattack. And if this play fails, we now have our counterattack here, and our 2 is able to rotate out. And it's easy to see what the extension's role is when you're in this scenario, in a worst case scenario. So if our purple is our ball, and our first man now is this guy here, he has a couple of choices, right? He could shoot the ball direct on net. He could also solo play it off and whatnot, reset, double tap, whatever, however he wants to do it. or he could even pass up to his extension for redirect, right? We could do a cherry picker here. This is going to give us the idea of what order extension is. Besides just the passing opportunity that he's given here, right? He could get cherry picker. If we go for one of these solo plays or shots, you have to remember from that previous challenge, he has a lot of momentum heading forward in this play, and he's pushing forward. And you'll see teams like G2 when they had Rizzo still on the team, and you'll see teams like Space Station, with Arsenal especially, push through this extension and go for a demo on net. If he demos on net here, that's an open net. This shot on net or this solo play is free. That's a free goal. Or in the same way, he doesn't even have to make him jump. It's an even easier goal though, because if he makes him jump, that's also an easier shot to make because you just burned his boost or you made him recover awkwardly. Now you left one side and then it open. You create opportunities with that extension. Now that follow through is going to sit there just fine. So those are our two basic rotations. Go to identify and see how Envy does that today. And so the first one we're looking at here is going to be this passing play here that Envy does and bringing Turbo in. So this actually mixes in both rotations basically within one play. We have our second man Atomic here in the midfield looking for that pass. He thought Mist had a bit more heat on it than he really did. Mist has the ball, so he's obviously first and Turbo's third. As he steps in, the pass goes over to Atomic and Atomic steps in his second, and now we have our 2-to-1. Our 1 making the pass and falling over here is extension. And then we have Turbo Pulsar coming in, right? Or not coming in rather, and he's waiting out the pass here as our 3. Notice that Turbo Pulsar's not jumping, he's not boosting, he's not going in. He's holding his position, he's locking down the field. Shot comes over and almost goes in, it's just a little too high. And now we have, right after this, Turbo Pulsar coming in for the cleanup, right? And so this is our 3-1, this is our right straight. And so in the same way that you might have seen teams on EU, we're gonna ignore the players in the field real quick, right? So if we saw a 1 and we saw a 2 and we saw passing going back and forth between them until finally it failed and then it got shot by this guy in the back, or until finally this guy came in to sink it off the backboard in a way, right? And there's opportunities. This is just stacking best case scenarios and then leading in with the worst case scenario right when you've punished them. They've baited out Arsenal from the net and now they've made Space Station leave the net open because Simpical and Metals are both out here recovering. Arsenal was the last defender. They got him completely out of net and this should be an opportunity to score. And so this basically turns into 2-to-1, 1 falls into extension, then 1 can pass back to extension and then fall into extension himself, and then extension becomes back to 1 and go back and forth infinitely up until finally it comes off the top, and then 3 comes in, sinks it, and then our new extension goes back to 3 because he's 2. So 2 or extension in the same way can go back to 3. Our first man falls into extension like normal and our 3 comes into 1, and we have a worst case scenario at the end of it. And that's basically what happens here with Envy, except without so many passes, without that infinite change. But instead they just come in and Turbo Pulsar makes this engagement. Our extension is Atomic right here, and then we have Mist here as 3, right? And Turbo Pulsar is going to make this shot as 1. He's now going to fall into this play as our extension after the shot, and his shot wasn't quite powerful enough, so Simpical gets back in time and saves this and throws it off to the opposite end. And now they've stacked another worst case scenario on top of this play again. Mist here is 3, steps in, engaging this ball as 1, and Turbo Pulse is our extension from the previous one, and Atomic here is going extension back out to 3, and they even made this engagement early because they're able to see that throw off to the opposite side. And in the next video, we're going to talk about a more advanced way to think about this play, or an advanced way to identify this play a little bit earlier so you can be as fast as Envy, because this can end up being a little convoluted when you're stacking worst case scenarios like this. And we're also going to talk about other gray zones that you can cover through a different type of rotation, and that's going to be advanced rotations. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully your exchanges in solo queue ranked with your team or in 6-mans are going well, and best of luck to your overall future Rocket League careers. If you're looking for more information on Rocket League strategy, I will be making more videos on this learning series, so like and subscribe to get updates on these videos. Besides that, I do free coaching on Twitch, and if you'd like to partake in that, go ahead and join my Discord below and check out my free analysis series here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.